So, you'll often hear me throw out the term that Australia is a puppet state of America, and I think a lot of people think I'm being facetious when I say that, and I'm really not. I mean that quite literally, and I just want to make a quick video to talk about what I'm talking about exactly, and some points to back it up. So, you really have to go back to the Whitlam government back in the 70s. This is the post-Vietnam War era, when the big red menace just really isn't looking as scary as we'd spent the last few decades believing it was going to be. Everything about the Vietnam War was just falling apart. It was an absolute disaster, and the Vietnamese, even the communist Vietnamese, are really nationalistic, and it doesn't look like this big domino effect thing is going to happen, where, one country comes communist and it's going to turn the next country communist, and so on, so on, so on. And the Whitlam government is the first government to come along. It's quite left-wing, it's almost socialist, and they are starting to break away from America. Like, we're still friends with America, but we're going to go investigate some policies on our own. America doesn't like that. They think that our policies are a little too socialist, so they help organize the dismissal of the Whitlam government. The CIA helps, pushes the Queen, England, to basically dismiss the Australian government. Malcolm Fraser and the Liberal Party are installed, and from that moment on, every single Australian government is overwhelmingly pro-US, like to the point that it's sycophantic, like we are sucking up to America at every point. And they have to, because if they don't, they're also going to get couped. And that's just a dynamic that still exists today. And if you want to see how that kind of process works, because America does that to a lot of countries. There are a lot of countries that are puppet states of America that you wouldn't even think about, like Saudi Arabia, for example. And there's a great book, if you want to understand the dynamics of how this happens. It's called Confessions of an Economic Hitman. I highly recommend it because it really helps you understand US foreign policy, what it is and what its intentions are, and they are not nice. And I guarantee, spoiler alert, it has nothing to do with democracy or freedom. It is about controlling strategic resources. And for America, they consider a strategic resource to either be, a place that has actual resources like oil and cobalt and whatever you want to think, aluminium. And then there's the places that think this is a good spot for a US military base because it'll give them range to attack any potential threats. Fast forward now to 2 decades into the 21st century, and the entire world is covered in US military bases. There isn't a single spot on this planet that isn't within range of a US bomb. And Australia is a huge US military base. You could just consider it one big one. We have US military personnel in all over the place. Pine Gap is our most famous, CIA base. There's a huge Navy base in Exmouth in WA. There's a Marine base in Darwin. You can wander around any of the major cities, especially Canberra, and you can see there are US military personnel everywhere. So we're basically under occupation by America. But you think, hang on, they're our friend and ally. They're here to protect us. We're on the same side. But you got to think about that a little bit more critically, because what exactly do we have this huge military presence in the country defending us from? We're the biggest island in the world, and the only country that has the logistical capability to invade Australia is America. So we don't need all this defense. So they're not really here to defend us. They're here to exert their pressure on other countries, especially Indonesia. And that's why, we hear this, it's always in the media about how China is taking us over, but we're looking at the wrong superpower. I don't have any doubt that China is trying to influence other countries. Every country in the world does. Like, China's not any special there. We do it. We exert pressure over East Timor or Papua New Guinea, We do the exact same thing that China's doing. America does the same thing. It's all part of realpolitik, right? In your spheres of influence. The big difference is China hasn't attacked anyone in, 79, I think was the last time when they attacked Vietnam. It was a very small conflict. They're generally friends. They were before and after that. And China hasn't done a single drone strike on anyone. America is bombing someone every single day. They're assassinating people. I made a video before about the extrajudicial killings America does with its drones. It'll hit Pakistan and kill someone. And you think, oh, okay, well, they killed a terrorist. That's what they tell us, right? But who says? There's no court. There's no charges. We don't know who this person is. They don't have any chance to defend themselves. All they know is they're walking around with their family and boom, they're blown apart. Same with, the 50 people around them. And that's American foreign policy. They do that all over the world. And they are clearly the biggest threat to world peace in the world. Because they're saying, oh, we're the ones stopping the world from becoming violent. But America's the only one doing the violence. They're the only ones stealing resources. They're the only ones controlling our governments. And you can see it clearly too. Once you can kind of see the signs, it's obvious how many countries are US puppets. And one of the big telltale signs, this is just my opinion, is the way democracy works after America helps you have democracy, right? America has this two-party system, which really isn't a two-party system. It's just the oligarchy and all the billionaires, and they have two people that they both control, and both of them pretend to fight, so it looks like you have someone to vote for. But at the end of the day, the same policies are going to go through no matter what. They're predetermined. Nothing's going to stop them. Everyone's taking money from the same people. It's just a circus to make us look like we have democracy. Now, in Australia, we got the Westminster system and preferential voting, and ostensibly we can basically elect anyone we want. But look at our voting history. Ever since the 40s, and especially since the Whitlam administration, it's only been a two-party system, and it's not even close. And you see the same thing happen in Britain as well, which is also a US puppet. We could do another video about how that happened. But it's the same thing. And you'll see it everywhere that America has control. France as well. It's total control, and it's meant to look like democracy, but it's really not. It's pure imperialism. And I just really want to emphasize the point that they keep trying to tell us who we should be afraid of and who we should be worried about, but it's ostensibly our biggest friend and ally. That's the real imperialist force and the real threat to democracy in our lives. And I don't think it's going to last much longer. I think America is falling apart internally anyway, and the whole thing is unsustainable because it seeks imperialism purely for billionaire profits at the expense of literally everyone else, including the vast majority of Americans themselves. So the whole thing isn't sustainable, and I think it will collapse, and I think it'll be all sorts of power vacuum nonsense, and I don't know what's in store for us, but I know that the greatest evil we have right now is US imperialism, and I want to make sure that we're all aware of just how dangerous it is. I'm probably going to make a few more videos on this topic because I have a lot to say about it, but for now, I think that's a good little overview. So when I'm saying that Australia is a puppet state of America, I really do mean that. So, yeah, something to think about.